End-to-end integration testing with Cypress.io. I'm Gleb Bahmutov. I work at Cypress. I've been working there as VP of Engineering for a year. And I was a happy user of Cypress for a year before that. So I just loved the product, so I joined the company. I had a long journey. I used to be a computer vision guy in computer graphics. At some point, the company I worked for supplied both Google Maps and Bing Maps with interior panoramas for Google Street View, so you could go into the restaurants and so on. And then I moved on to data visualization and then to front end and to Angular and Vue and everything. So I touch everything that touches JavaScript and nothing that touches CSS. A couple companies I work for, it's not that interesting. Cypress is a very small company, so what I'm about to show you is only possible because the Cypress, the main product, the test run, is open source. So we give it away for free. It's an MIT license. You can contribute to that. We're only 11 people. I work from Boston. And most important thing, I have a couple of Cypress t-shirts on the table and a couple of stickers. And feel free to grab one. I think there are just a few left. Testing pyramid. It's great to be one of 4 talks when the last talk is about unit testing at the bottom. So the smallest pieces of code, right, are tested using unit tests. And we have this pyramid that's very wide at the base because it's so easy to actually write unit tests, right? We write a lot. The base of the pyramid is so wide because we have great tools for writing unit tests. But unit tests are not that useful, right? By itself, everything might be working very well. But together, it just doesn't look right. But let's take a step back. I'm not saying unit tests are not important. In fact, 3 years ago, in 2015, I came to this meetup when it was called Angularjs meetup, and I gave a talk on unit testing Angularjs using a library that I wrote called ngDescribe. And there are slides and everything. And I have a picture from that meetup. This looked very different, right? The framework was very different. The audience was a little bit different. We didn't have cameras. Now, from unit tests, we move on up one level. So now we're trying to put things together. We're trying to put components together. We're trying to see if our front end works with our API, but we stop the API. It's not a full test. It's just integration test. It's important because it finds problems that unit tests don't find, right? By itself, this works. But when you put things together, it turns out. Right. So once you actually put things together, you find problems. You find things that were not specified. You find things that were ambiguous and plain dumb. To me, the most important things are the end-to-end tests, the things at the top of the pyramid. That's when you test the fully deployed website. It might be running on your local machine. It still is full website. It might be running with some API call stopped, maybe the payment system, but you still connect to the API, you still run the database. So the end-to-end, to me, is the most important and should be really looked at closely. Really, if you think about it, we should invert the pyramid. It should be pizza slice, right? At the top, we have all our end-to-end tests because they are really important to the users. If I cannot go to your website and buy your product, don't tell me you have 10,000 unit tests. That means your product cannot be bought, like you cannot be paid. This is still very important to developers. That's how I write code. I write maybe tests after or before, doesn't matter, but I write code so I can actually guarantee that my code works. The end-to-end tests actually guarantee that all the pieces of a system work together after configuration. Open any website. We are in New York, so open New York Times and see in DevTools huge number of errors. Try using a website, and you'll find a lot of errors. And it's like that with every website. Wait, that's not fair. I do run AdBlock, and that's causing problems. But that's how some of the users are using it. The system could be misconfigured. There could be some scripts that could not be loaded, right? The AdBlock actively remove the main source of revenue, but it doesn't matter. Right. So if you don't have good end-to-end tests, that means your users are testing your web applications. This is a quote that I wish I came up with, but I cannot claim the authorship. It's Will Klein. Excellent quote. So that was a problem. Now let's see the solution we offer. You install Cypress like you would install any dev dependency, npm install -d or save dev Cypress. Like I said, I didn't say that, but it's an Electron-based application. That means it installs a binary built specifically for your platform. And we build something for every platform. You don't have to think about it. You're just doing npm install. It's MIT license. It's fully open source. And you might ask, well, aren't you afraid that someone will steal it and sell it as not a Cypress, but like an apple tree or something? The core of the product is written in CoffeeScript, and that gives the best protection against something. Okay, but you can go online and check it out. We now use ES6, and we do parts of it in TypeScript, so it's better. You can look at Introduction to Cypress just to get a sense if you really want to see it quickly. This is how a test looks. We have a Mocha engine under the hood, so the tests look like Mocha tests, a name of a test, and then we give you a global variable Cy, short for Cypress. Cypress visit opens this website in a real browser. So Cypress comes with Electron browser built in, but it can control any Chrome-based browsers found on the system. And the Firefox support is coming soon, and IE 11 support will never come, but so be warned. Speaking of making money, so we have 500 open issues because people use it, and someone opened an issue saying, I need IE 11 support. And you're like, that's fine, we're not going to do that, maybe someone else. And the person, okay, I'm going to put a bounty. So they made a page, actual like bounty, thing, legit thing, and they offered a bounty for anyone who adds IE 11 support. And we looked at how much money we're offering. Does anyone want to venture a guess?
$5.
15. So 15 bucks, yes. Okay. Coming back to what you came for. So this opens a real page. It checks that the server responds. It checks that it's content HTML. It checks that onload event is firing. So this is already by itself a nice test. But then you get new to do, so you get by selector an element, and you say it should be visible. And Cypress has this kind of jQuery chain syntax. So if you're grabbing an element, do some actions, do some assertions, you can continue chaining those commands. More complex task would be to visit a page, find new to do, type some text, and enter key, type some more text, and enter, then get the list of to-dos. And of course, I'm using to-do MVC because when I got my license to be a developer, I was forced to sign a contract that I will never show anything else. Okay, and when I'm making assertions, I'm expecting two items, and that's an assertion, right? So I'm getting something, and then I'm making an assertion. It's all good, but let's actually see this in action. So I have I have my to-do app right here. It's local thing. I can mark items. So running on port 3000. Here's my spec file, and I'm going to make it large. Because we ship TypeScript definitions, when you use VS Code, any editor that actually understands TypeScript definitions, like it shows IntelliSense, so you don't have to remember all the commands. Like you keep typing and it will give you the right thing. So right now I'm just showing the first test. And I'm going to just say npx Cypress open. There are only two commands. Cypress open is the first one that starts the GUI mode, the interactive mode. So this is Cypress. My website is iframe. It's very bright, so I apologize for you can't really read this, but I think so this is the website under test. Cypress is an Electron app. It iframes your website, so it has full visibility into that. But on the left, you see this column, and that's the test commands. So I have visit. I see XHR that my app did because it actually went to the server. Then I see get and selector, and then I see an assertion. Notice when I hover over command right now, it actually highlights the element that it selected. Right? Which is not a big deal, right? Let's actually go to a more interesting test. So I'm gonna take this test that adds two to-dos. So Cypress is watching my spec files and it keeps rerunning the things. It's like your CMS, right? As soon as you change something, you want to rerun the tests, right? What does your CMS use for testing? Use Cypress. Okay, so I visited the page, I selected new to do, I typed learn testing and it pressed enter. Now, see how, as I'm hovering, this shows a dump snapshot before and after. The tool sees the dump snapshot, so it notices when it changes for each command. And now it tells me, okay, when the command started, the dump was different from the dump after the command. I can pause that by clicking on this, and I can just look at before dump and after. These dump snapshots are taken after each command automatically. You can go back and see how the app looks, right? So this was my first to-do item. Then I type some more, be cool, and again I see things. And then I went to the get me to-do item, new to-do list items. It selected two. It found two matching elements, and they're highlighted right here. So I see what the test is doing, and then it's running an assertion. And it expected to have two items, and it got two items. Excellent. As I hover over command, you can see the element selected. And then it ran an assertion and expected to find two elements, and the assertion passed. Now, let's rerun the test and see what happens. So it typed, and now something is wrong, right? I'm not actually resetting my database between the tests. Well, on purpose, really. So this was running, 1 second. I put it quite a big. Okay, so it was trying to find two elements, right? But it found 6. So the error message clearly says what went wrong. So Cypress really puts a lot of effort into giving you the best error message under all circumstances. You really don't have to guess what happened. And the interesting thing here, so this is the interactive mode. So I'm, as a developer, running end-to-end test and seeing this. I can go back and see, for example, when I visited the page, my app, made a request, and like this is how it looked. But on CI, I would not run Cypress open. I would execute a different command, which is headless mode, Cypress run. And notice how it started video recording. The video recording on all platforms is default and standard. So when the test failed, I can just open the video from my CI or from local, and I can see what the failure was. Like, we put a lot of thought into the workflow for debugging things. Like, the first time I saw a failing test, I was like, hallelujah, I finally, I'm not hunting in the dark. Selenium. Okay. But here's the interesting thing. People always put timeouts in their tests, right? Because you don't know when things happen. You want to be safe, so you're like, okay, I'll just put 30 seconds. So I just said, you see how this actually is blue and rotating, right? I put a timeout on this command. So it's getting to do list items, but it's allowed to wait up to like this many milliseconds, okay? So what happens, because the Cypress knows all the commands and it knows the assertion, it will retry this assertion, it would fail, it will grab the elements again, retry the assertions, grab it again and again. And only if it passes, then it will immediately continue running. And this retriability is built into every command and every assertion. So you can wait for network requests, for items to disappear or appear. It's very different from adding a wait of 30 seconds and hoping that this would help. And so the UI is still waiting. Okay, so it's waiting for two elements to be there in a list. So why don't we help it? So I'm going to just delete a couple elements. 3, 2, boom. See how immediately knew that it expected two items were there, the test passed. So we have Xenon, so you can fake anything, you can stop the server, you can stop the clock, everything you need to actually do any kind of testing is built in. You don't have to install anything, but if you want to install additional libraries, the bundler is included. Okay, so you can do all of that. Installing it on CI is one command. If you need a Docker, we give you all the Docker images. To learn more, we have Egghead course that came out last week. We also have a free course on our website, and you can read our docs. We literally invested 25% of our development time in just updating the docs. Because like every AngularJS developer knows, a good documentation is paramount. We make money not from this, so we give everything away. We keep working on the test runner, 24/7. We make money on like keeping all of your videos and screenshots if you want to use and send it to us, right? And only for private projects, but you don't have to use that. Interesting thing, you don't have to test the whole website. You can actually, if you need integration tests, like testing just the components, you can, and you need the same features as in real end-to-end thing, you can, well, I'm kind of skipping it a little bit because I'm running out of time. But we have a little adapter. So everything you saw before did not depend on any particular framework. It only went through DOM, through the network, through CSS, right? Now, if you really are developing something that depends on the framework, so someone is using like AngularJS. So we have Cypress AngularJS unit test adapter, and that allows you, so you have your little Angular app, that allows you to mount any particular template right into your test. So you don't have to have a fully functional thing. You can just grab your little component, mount, and it will act like a full app. And you can use the same API and interact, stub, network, everything. And I have these adapters written for everything except for Joe, right? Like Angular unit test, because I cannot figure out how to scaffold, a component on demand in the test iframe to interact. So there's only one issue, but it's a kind of important one. It's a blocking one. And I want to finish with just a final thought. So Pete, you mentioned Jeff Welpley, the person behind Angular Universal. So he wrote a blog post. He wrote we call it guest blog post, but he wasn't invited guest. He just showed up at my door. He's like, I want to write a blog post. How great the experience is testing Angular apps with Cypress versus Protractor, right? And it's not about Protractor being a bad product. It's about completely different technology and completely different focus on developer experience versus this is what's possible with Selenium, right? So once we kind of decided we have to re-engineer the developer experience, we're like, what should we do? Oh, Electron app, because that allows us to look closely into your code and observe your application. So if you're using a Protractor, it's really easy to switch to Cypress. So I wrote a blog post. Hit me up with any questions. And I just want to point out that a lot of people are tweeting like good vibes, and it's just fun. You see what's going on. You're no longer hunting in the dark, and you feel good. You stop drinking. One thing that's not on my slides, because I know we are at the house of Google, there is Chrome Puppeteer, right? Great product, allows you to do everything, with Chrome. Why can't you just use Chrome to do your end-to-end testing? So Chrome is great for general browser automation, right? It opens a browser, it can click everything. But it doesn't have anything specific to testing. Like it doesn't have like retries and the GUI. You don't have dumb snapshots. You don't have network stubbing. You don't have all the things that you actually need for end-to-end testing, right? Could you implement that on top of Puppeteer? Absolutely. Just invest, a couple of lifetimes of your work, right? And then you'll be limited to just Chrome, right? So we were trying to kind of give you all the testing things, but not really be specific to Chrome, even though we are Chrome. So if you want to find out more, go to GitHub Cypress.io Cypress, and these are the slides. Thank you very much.
So I actually use your product, and I have to say it's great. It's been.
I'll give you $100 too.
but there is an issue.
Yes.
And we use a GraphQL backend, so stubbing becomes a little bit difficult.
Yes.
So we've been trying to figure out how to spy on the network requests so that they're done, so that we can continue through the test. For us, we kind of had like just like a loader, and we're watching the loader, waiting for it to go, but it's not very reliable.
Right.
And then the other way would be waiting for a timeout for the network request to be done.
Yes.
Is there any other way to spy on the network requests so that we can like continue through the testing?
Because so the question is, how do you spy on GraphQL queries? Because Cypress has spying and stubbing of network requests, but we have to have a different route. All your requests to GraphQL go to the same route, so you can really distinguish. And you cannot inspect in our stubbing like what's going on, so you can actually do conditional logic and return something. So the best way to actually do that is to kick me out of here right now, so I can go back and work on full network stubbing, which is kind of what I've been doing for like a couple months now. That allows you to do all the things with network and like inspect requests, like do everything for any type of request. And then you can have that logic for any kind of like GraphQL request. And that will be the best thing. Like, okay? Yeah. So sorry, it's still under, it used to be under active development, when I had to do other things, and soon it will be under active development again. Thanks for using Cypress. Yes?
Is there or will there be an interface, kind of like how Selenium drivers work, so that someone can just implement it and get full browser support for Cypress?
Absolutely. So the problem with that is that when we control Chrome, right, we put it in a special like automation mode that it allows through command line switches, and we load our code, and then we like operate Chrome during the test using like a special Chrome extension API. But Chrome extension API is very, very close to general web extension API that every browser pretty much implements. So once we actually remove Chrome-specific things and only use the generic web extension API, then we'll be able to control any browser. Now, that's the theory. So we just did it with Firefox, and there are a lot of edge cases where like the browser behaves differently, or it's ambiguous, or like unspecified. So we had a lot of issues just controlling Firefox, right? But nothing stops you from looking at the like pull request for Firefox and kind of taking Safari or whatever, Edge, and doing the same for other browsers. So the base is there. It's just a question of time and effort. That's a great question.